Welcome back to the Other Side Cycling Podcast. We are jumping into episode 3 today. Currently, we're in the studio, but you'll notice a little different format for today's episode. Lucy was out in New York traveling, and I was here in LA. So we did a little online meeting to do the podcast. Wanted to keep it going, right?
Yeah, it was definitely an experience, a lot of learnings. We ended up recording the introduction about 5 or 6 times because we kept running into technical difficulties, but it's all part of the learning. And yeah, as Patrick says, it was really important to us to be able to continue the consistency, get an episode out, episode 3, and we still had some really good conversations. It is a bit of a shorter episode, but I hope you enjoy it.
Stick around to see if Lucy actually achieved any of the missions that we set out for her.
You don't have to do me dirty like this.
After some technical difficulties, which we won't go into because it's really boring and annoying, we are hopefully live. Well, not live because people are listening to it recorded, but we're here, episode 3. I'm Lucy Mannall. Welcome to the Other Side Cycling podcast. I'm here with Patrick and we're ready. We've had a little practice, I guess. It can't be bad. I'm excited to be recording despite frustrated.
I mean, we're doing things a little differently today. Obviously, we're recording remotely. Lucy, you're out in my hometown of New York City. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm wearing a New York Mets hat, but I'm here in Los Angeles, and Lucy is wearing a green LA Dodgers hat. You're over there in New York. How are things going over there?
You know, I have to represent LA on the other side. It's good. It's been cold. I mean, I should have expected that. Actually, I did expect it to be cold. However, I got off the plane on Saturday and it was hot. It was 26 degrees. I'm sorry, I don't know the conversion, but it was 26 degrees. I was in Brooklyn. People were out in the park. Guys had their tops off. Yeah, it was beautiful. Everyone was like, this is amazing. I think you call it fake spring. Is that the right term? Yeah.
False spring. That's how it goes. Have you been anywhere in New York? Where have you been up to?
I mean, I've done a lot. However, if you're asking about the task that you set me in the previous episode, then we haven't made much progress there, I'm afraid. Time has been moving quick. I'm probably like halfway through the trip. I have looked at city bikes and thought about riding them, but it's been cold and today it's raining. I'm just having excuses. Yeah, not successfully completed any of those challenges just yet. I am staying in Brooklyn the second half of the trip, like from tomorrow. So there might be more opportunity to get to the sandwich spot, get the donut shop as well. So we'll see how that goes. And if it doesn't happen this trip, then absolutely it will happen another trip. I need to come to New York in the summer because I have never done that. So yeah, I'm sorry.
New York summer is also brutal. We get super humid, super sticky. It's fun. Everyone is outside every day. The colloquial term is "we outside." You know, everyone starts screaming that and screaming "you're." I do think riding a bike in big cities is such a huge experience. And it's no different in New York. It is something you have to do. I wouldn't consider New York City a destination for road riding or even any kind of riding. It's kind of pretty hectic. I guess maybe fixed gear and city bike like Brompton riding. You sent me a picture of you going to the Brompton store. That was kind of a side quest, right?
Yeah, I know that wasn't an official task. It was actually accidental. We were walking through the West Village and I looked to my right and I was like, oh, that's the Brompton store. I have to go check it out. If you listen to the last episode, you know my love of Bromptons. Yeah, it was cool. They had the new gravel line in there. They just launched. This is not a Brompton advert. I'm going to shut up about that. One thing that I do want to note is they do have this cool program where you can borrow a Brompton. I don't know if it's for 24, 48 hours or whether you can kind of arrange that, but you can borrow a Brompton overnight at least. So I think it's more if you're looking to buy one and you can actually live with a Brompton and see, cool, this is where it would live in my house. This is how I would take it on the metro. This is how, or subway, sorry. This is how I would take it to the bar. So that was cool. I didn't do it, but it's very cool to know. And I'm sure that is the same for the other locations too. I was like, hey, when are you opening an LA store? They were like, we're thinking about it. So yeah, that was cool to accidentally stumble on.
That's a really great thing for people who are just trying to figure out what it's like to ride in the city too. I have a buddy who recently started riding city bikes, getting the e-bikes as well, and he said it unlocks so much for him. To quote him, he says he just loves listening to all the crazy things that are going on in the city. There's a little bit of everything, and he gets to see so much that no one knows about. You know, as locals generally, you think like, yeah, I know all the spots, I know all the cut throughs, and it is really true. Like when you're on a bike, you can access so much different ways around, and even walking, like you're going to experience the city a little differently from that because it's a much higher pace. You're absorbing so much more.
Totally.
I'm glad he found joy in riding a bike around the city. You know, he's thinking about buying an e-bike now. Riding your
Okay.
bike, it gives you that like wave of endorphins that can inspire a lifetime of joy. So that's huge. I really love that for him and anyone who's thinking about riding a bike in the city. I think you should do 100%. And it's cool that Brompton gives you that opportunity. I think that takes us into the next segment, straight into the staples.
Straight in.
Since we're doing things a little differently this week, we wanted to just kind of ask bigger questions or more questions in general. You're outside of LA right now. What is a dream cycling destination trip that you would take? Where are you going after this or thinking of going?
I don't have any cycling trips planned right now. Well, maybe actually you could count Seattle next week. Yeah, that is not a dream trip. But I think somewhere at the top of my cycling bucket list is Japan. I have like a full bike packing setup that's pretty legit with tailpin bags and stuff because I rode back from Seattle to LA a couple years ago with my friend, and that was super fun. It gave me the first taste of kind of credit card bike packing as such. I absolutely don't think I could do the carrying all your tent and your stuff plus setting up a tent after riding a bike all day. That's not my vibe. But just rocking up to a hotel and showering, having dinner, and then going to bed sounds great. But Japan for me is a dream destination in that sense. I lived there a little bit when I was a lot younger. I went back when I was 19. I think seeing it by bike, you know, we were just saying about going around New York City on a bike is an amazing way to see the city and kind of see the stuff that a lot of people don't see or get to new areas that you would never have done otherwise. And I think the same thing goes for Japan. I would love to do a mix of different cities, but also some countryside. There's also those vending machines that you could be like kind of in the middle of nowhere, and then all of a sudden there's a vending machine, and that really attracts me to if I haven't eaten enough and need some sugar, then that's perfect. There should be more of that here.
Yeah, it's
What
like
about you?
that's the bike packer's dream, right? Like to actually just have that mirage of
Yep.
vending machines. That's pretty sick. Yeah, I mean Japan is on the list. I feel like maybe we should think about a broader trip to just go to a bunch of different cities with a Brompton. And we've talked about it so much. I feel like we need to ask them to send us some product and actually get out there and do this. Maybe that's an idea that we can pursue.
I'm down.
I'm actually pretty excited to go to Seattle, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I've always wanted to go to Asia to ride bikes. Little story, when I was in college, I did like a grant writing thesis project for my senior year in art school, and I wrote up this whole big art project that maybe we'll talk about a little bit some other day. But it was to go to Korea and to ride their network of highways, basically a hike a bike journey up to this temple that has like the biggest collection of Buddhist texts in the world. Anyway, that would be really cool to do. I still want to do that one day. But back to riding bikes here in Los Angeles. Last week, did you get up to anything?
I did a little bit of indoor riding, but it was mostly just kind of I feel like editing the podcast is my excuse for a lot of stuff, but last week went super quick, got in some good indoor rides around editing podcasts and some other things that were going on. This isn't what happened, but what is coming up gonna be doing or helping lead a map women's ride in a couple weeks time, which will be super fun. It's in combination with Luft, which is small cycling running kind of active store in Venice. So it's like my local shop, and that was the place that I really found community in the cycling scene in LA when I first got there. So it's a special place for me, but I'm really excited that they're kind of bringing their women's rides back again. I will share more information when I have it, but just wanted to highlight that that is something coming up. Yeah, maybe I should think about bigger rides that I can do this year or trips. Yeah, I think just traveling makes me want to travel more and think, oh, cool, where can I go next? What can I do? So, yeah, life is short. Maybe I just need to make that trip happen. What about you?
Actually, I have done a couple things. Last week, I decided after doing ponies in the rain that I didn't get quite enough riding. So I went and did what's known as a Rose Bowl century. So I just did laps around the Rose Bowl till I hit 100 miles. I don't think I actually did the Rose Bowl century in the way that a Rose Bowl century is meant to be done. Yeah, the whole 100 miles in the Rose Bowl. Generally, people do 33 laps of it because it's a three point some odd. It's a 5K circuit, 5K loop, and doing 33 laps will get you to about 99. So maybe you do a little bit more. It was fun. I used to do a lot of that kind of riding in New York, Central Park or Prospect Park. I would just pick what loop I wanted to do that day, and I would just go around and around and around and around until I got sick of it. I think I have like my Strava doesn't have every time I've done the loop, but I've probably done close to like 500, 600 laps of
Damn.
both parks, which is insane. In the grand scheme of things, I know there are a lot of other riders who have done way more.
I think that's a similar thing for cities that have those outdoor spaces. For example, in London, you have Regent's Park or Richmond Park, and you can do laps of those as well. And I have friends that have done 24 hours in Richmond Park, or I have other friends that did Festive 500, but all in one day. So Festive 500, when you ride, is it 500K or miles?
I think it's
Or depends.
500K.
Yeah,
500K.
and it happens between 24th of December and New Year's Eve, I think, or the end of the year. They did it all in one day, just looping round. I think they did it in Regent's Park is a lot, and especially at that time of year as well. That's pretty savage. Maybe that's the next thing for you, the Rose Bowl 24-hour.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not exactly an ultra endurance kind of guy, but
On a Brompton.
doing on a Brompton,
Yeah,
we keep coming back to this. It's interesting, right? Like in Los Angeles, that's the park that we have, Rose Bowl in Pasadena. But I live at the base of Griffith Park, which is a massive park that also has its own loop. I just tend to not think of it as a loop. I tend to appreciate Griffith for its climbs. Like every Wednesday, I do the Pandas Ponies ride. And that's another thing. Yesterday, I went out and did my personal best time up it.
nice.
And it's not what people would consider PR season, personal record, personal best season just yet. Like we're
You're
still just
peaking.
coming out of the window. Maybe.
You're peaking
Am I
too
peaking?
soon.
Maybe. Or
Or
maybe I'm
maybe
just
this is just the
the
ramp up.
steady ramp. It is. I think it is the ramp up because I felt like I probably could have gone even stronger. What's awesome is that no one else was thinking about taking it as a PR day. Usually, for the Pandas Ponies, like 6:30 group ride, everyone goes up this 3 mile climb. I think 1,200 feet of climbing. That's like a 7% average grade, 5 to 7% average grade, and people tend to do like a full gas or a PR day. The full gas day is like the whole route. You do the climb, descend, and climb back up to the observatory. For a PR day, I think it's just for the main climb. I rode over with a buddy of mine who had just come back from Girona, and we were having a chat. We didn't mention that we were going to go hard, but I did say like I was kind of testing myself that day. And I kind of eavesdropped on him when we got into the pack of everybody in there, talking with someone who I know is really strong, being like, hey, are you gonna go for it? And no one else was talking about it, so I just hung around and stuck behind them until the moment came that they fired off, and I was like, perfect. I'm in the right position. I took the once they did inevitably drop me, I just took it at my own pace. And the motivation that they gave me, and then the people who caught me, because there's other people who are in the back of the group who were strong enough to catch back on and like eclipse the time that I set. They were able to give me the motivation to finish strong. I think I relaxed a little bit too hard. I recovered a little too hard, which gives me another goal. Like I can beat this time again, and probably. I don't doubt myself, but I was doubting myself on this climb for so long. Because it is so hard. It is a really, really difficult climb, and it's fun to do, but I take it for granted that it's in my backyard. I almost don't look forward to doing the ride because it's so difficult, at least to like best yourself on it. I'm the kind of person who just wants to keep bettering on every effort. But speaking of things that need to improve, I need new cleats. I, I've, I've really put a number in on my shoes. The cleats are super worn out, and it's like a $20 fix. Like I could just get new ones, but I never look forward to that like new sensation. Yeah, like have you ever gotten a bike fit?
Yes. I used to be a bike fitter myself,
Oh, cool.
but I haven't had a bike fit in, I don't know, probably 6 years. So I'll
Well,
probably do another one. And a thing that does stress me out is buying new shoes. Like I can put cleats in the same place to replace the old cleat. That doesn't bother me. But when I buy new shoes, and especially if it's a different model of shoe, it's really hard to fit them yourself. And it's also hard to just get a bike fit for your shoes. You kind of need to do everything. Maybe I'm due another bike fit.
yeah, maybe. I don't know if I'm doing a bike fit in particular, but I like you stress out about shoes for sure. I'm never that good for myself with installing new cleats. I stress about that a lot. It's hard to get them back in the same place. I fiddle with it for a week until I'm happy with it. And then I don't think I ever get it quite right, but I just adjust to it. But the whole new shoes thing, yeah, my S Work shoes, I've been riding them for 6 years, and I've started to shear the carbon.
Wow.
I was joking with my friends that it was too many watts, but I definitely need to get a new pair.
Too many watts over 6 years is a lot of watts.
I mean, carbon does fatigue over time. It's true. It could have been too many watts. That I think takes us squarely into where we're headed in the next segment, from downtown segment. New shoes, as scary as they are to fit and try on, they're so expensive now. Unbelievably expensive. Did you see the new Specialized shoes that just came out? The S-Works Aries 2?
Yeah. Yeah, they've been causing quite a bit of commotion, I've seen. What is the RRP on them? Remind me.
Yeah, MSRP or RRP is $599.
You can buy a bike for that much.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
you
it's
can
yeah.
you can buy an off-brand Brompton for that.
I mean, if you split the cost over however many bike rides, sure, that maybe is how I would say it to myself, but that is a lot of money for some
Yeah,
shoes.
I mean, the shoes that I've been wearing 6 years, if you break it down by year, that's $100 a year. We do spend so much time in them. If you're getting upwards of 5,000 miles like a year in these expensive shoes, you're really getting your money's worth on them. And maybe I'm just looking at that $600 price tag and feeling a type of way about it. Thinking about it, Nimble, another brand that kind of has had like a marketing surge.
Tade wears Nimble, right? Or are they U
No,
Dog?
Jumbo Visma wears Nimble,
Yes.
but Tade wears DMT, and he
Okay, yeah.
might be doing Physique. I think UAE does have a Physique partnership, sponsorship, but he has his own personal, kind of like how Cav has his own
Yeah.
personal thing with Oakley and Nike. that kind of thing. Tade wears DMT, and those are like upwards of 500 as well. Nimble is like 550, and once you add in like import tax, it's like $600.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
crazy.
and I think with these new insane tariffs, whatever politics, that it's going to get even more expensive, even for lower tier model shoes. Because we're talking about top tier stuff, like pro level stuff that normal people like us don't really need, but want and aspire to. But the performance is there. So we'll see. You know, we're going to Sea Otter, and we'll see what the field looks like, right?
Yeah, I think that will be interesting. I mean, I love new kit, but the price of some kit is just really ridiculous, and it's hard if you have a friend and they're like, "Hey, I might want to try cycling," or "I've been thinking about doing it." I'm like, "Cool, great," and I'm not gonna advise them to get the best, most expensive shoes. The best, obviously they're not the best for everyone, but the top of the range shoe. But it's hard if someone was, doing some Googling or looking up cycling shoes and they were like, what, $500? Wow. And, there's still some solid entry level shoes. If I was gonna advise someone to buy their first pair of cleats and clip in, the entry level ones with a plastic sole are absolutely fine. Or if people can afford it, I would say get the simple carbon soled shoe. Great. But it's hard. I'm very aware and sensitive around the fact that cycling is difficult sport to get into, or compared to running, compared to basketball, where you can just put on some trainers and it doesn't really matter what trainers they are. They don't have to be specific football trainers or basketball shoes or whatever. You just put those on and you can play. Whereas cycling, at the very least, you should have a bike, a helmet, maybe some padded shorts, maybe some accessories to help fix a puncture or mechanical stuff, water bottles, the list goes on. So I do get excited about new product, new kit, but I'm incredibly sensitive to where stuff is at. Seattle next week, I'm very excited to see the new kit. I love Seattle as an event. There's some people that I only see once a year at Seattle and we just catch up.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with those people next week, being up in Monterey, seeing the new product.
Yeah, it's so fun to kind of like just powwow with people up there. I went for the first time last year, and I'm excited to go again. It's going to be different for sure. Like just like vendors and different exhibits, things that are going to be released. I'm looking forward to a lot of that stuff, but there's a huge difference in the actual race event. If you're familiar with the Lifetime Grand Prix, which is like a series of 6 gravel races, last year it was mountain bike, and I think historically Sea Otter has been a mountain bike event. This year it won't be. This year it's going to be a gravel race on a separate day. It's going to be on a Friday instead of Saturday.
Interesting.
Yeah, the mountain bike race will continue to go on, the Fuego XL. I think it's a similar route. It's going to be gravel this year. And the big change is that they're implementing a no draft rule. Did you
Okay,
hear anything about
triathlon.
that? Yeah, right? Did you hear anything about that?
I heard some people giving their opinions on this. Yeah, it's very interesting. Do you think there will be different winners because of that? Do you think it's going to shuffle? Like I know there have been a couple riders in particular that have really dominated the podium and the standings in the Lifetime Grand Prix series over the last couple of years, but they seem pretty consistent over the races in general, and then it's kind of the later top 10 places that shuffle around. Do you think that's gonna shake things up?
Well, I'm not sure because the change from it being a mountain bike race to a gravel race, I think in the 6 for the Grand Prix that you have to compete in to get the grand prize at the end, I think you're allowed a drop race. And I think this is going to raise the chip, first of all, for it from going to a mountain bike to a gravel race is going to give more incentive to the riders who normally don't show up to Sea Otter to kick off the season to appear.
Yeah.
Um, But then going back to the drafting thing, I can see how it works. And I know in the past, I've been thinking about this. Like, I know in particular, the pro women have been asking for it. Like, it's feedback that they've been giving.
Okay.
I don't think I don't think the no drafting thing really solves or answers their feedback. I really think what needs to happen is a separate race entirely. Like, logistics wise, having a separate day is hard, but there's no excuse to
I
not
mean,
have.
Seattle, there's, was it 4 days of events and
Yeah,
races? So, and around specific area that is set up and purpose built for racing and expo. So, yeah, if they did mix up the days, it's, I mean, there's a lot of racing that happens there across all different categories. But yeah, of all the events throughout the year that happen in the US, this is an opportunity for sure.
yeah. I mean, it's on a legendary world racetrack circuit. I don't think the gravel is.
Yeah, I
The,
was like, where's the
the
gravel there?
yeah, the road race that happens throughout is on the racetrack, and then the
Yeah,
mountain bike race. I think it has something to do with having time to do the mountain bike event and the gravel event. You don't want to limit, the kind of event that you do. You get all kinds of cyclists to come out for it. So I can see how it's a difficult thing logistics wise. It's just hard to to do,
yeah,
you know. But
yeah,
like the concessions that you're gonna have to make, like, will you are you going to consider cutting the race to be shorter? Like, are you going to be setting up for a different day? What are you really going to do, and how is it going to be equitable? I think moreover, the whole, you heard of the idea of the spirit of gravel,
mhm,
right? Where'd that go? I know that there was some mixed reactions on Instagram around this, like this whole no drafting thing. You used to have it that some of the elite men pick like the faster elite women being able to catch up to them, and then they're doing the drafting, and that changes the whole dynamic of the race. But the whole spirit of gravel is that there is no separation of talent.
yeah,
It's like the biggest mass start in like old days of Unbound and its previous name, which we won't get into those politics. It used to just be a huge mass start. Like, thousands of people would dawn on Emporia, Kansas, and like close down the town, and everyone would just get to ride with pros and do the same course, finish it on the same day, set off at the same time. Yeah, the carnage for sure. But that whole like romance around like the event is gone. I'm not sure if maybe Sea Otter had that too in the past, but there was some controversy in this. Like, the spirit of gravel has left the building, a famous pro athlete said in the comment section on a news Instagram post that came out. And even Reggie Miller came out to say, like, give his 2 cents on the whole idea of a no drafting rule or implementation. It's like, who's going to police it? This is a big event for any of the lifetime events. How are you going to capitalize or penalize someone for it, right?
yeah, I'm not too sure. Yeah, I think, and also with any of these sort of race changes or rule implementations, there's always teething issues. Like, I'm sure the race team and the race organizers have really thought this through. But like you say, it is hard to actually manage and ensure happens in a true and fair way, especially on a gravel race. Like, there's one thing doing it on a road race or a triathlon race that's on a course, but in terms of a gravel race in the hills of Monterey, it'll be interesting to check back in after the race and be like, maybe we'll be okay. That did work. Fair play. We'll see. I'll be interested to know.
Apparently, according to a cycling news article by Jackie Taylor, the president of Lifetime mentioned that they've gone round and round over it, taking the feedback. And they debated actually waiting until Unbound to roll it out.
Interesting.
We'll see how it works out. I think I was at Unbound last year, and I watched the sprint finish live, and that was so epic to see the helicopter come into town and like 10 women like sprinting for their lives to get to that finish line, and seeing Rosa actually like dominate that sprint and pull away from the standard leaders, Carolyn Schiff, Sophia, absolutely destroyed him in that sprint from like 500 meters out. It was sick.
Reminds
And
me
what's that?
reminds me of what happened in Dorston Flandrin yesterday. Nelson Paulus,
Another
just
American.
dominating Visma. Yeah, we're just
Yeah.
killing it right now. Yeah, dominating two Visma riders and coming away with the win. I saw a lot of great reactions to that. Sorry, a slight tangent, but it just reminded me of that.
No, yeah. I mean, I think we can kind of move to that. Doors was a really cool race for the men and the women. Like the men's one, obviously, there's a lot of controversy with how Jumbo handled that, and Wout van Aert's mental state and his current status as the one of the leaders on Visma. It seems like Visma's having like a pretty tough year overall with their super team, even though they had like Matteo winning, but.
Someone's comment, I can't remember who it was. It must have been a British friend, but they were like, "Are Visma the new Man City?" And Man City are a British football team who had success and kind of been a super team previously. So that was a funny comment that I saw. But I think these things happen in sports, and I'm sure they'll still have a really good Tour de France and a really good rest of the season. There's only so many bike races, and there are so many teams and riders. Yeah, it's an interesting kind of change and kind of tides turning. They were still both at the front, separate to the rest of the pack. So yeah.
Yeah, the Dwarves on Blundern women's race as well happened. You want to take us through that?
Yeah, so one of my favorite riders, Elisa Longo Borghini, she took the win from like a super long range attack. I think it was around 30K solo. Yeah, she's just such a strong rider, super fun to watch. I think this was something like her 50th career win, which is crazy. I feel in women's cycling, we used to have this thing where there was basically only 4 riders that would win most of the races, and there'd be a few anomalies here and there, but you had Lizzie Deignan, you had Marianne Vos, you had Anna van der Breggen, and I feel like I'm missing someone else.
Lucinda
Uh,
Brand.
yeah, Elisa Longo Borghini was also in that. Maybe it was 10 top riders, but you didn't really hear many other people's names. And now I think with the teams getting more funding and more attention, the teams are able to have bigger rosters, and some of the infrastructure that the men's teams have feeding into the women's teams now. I think that's created space for bigger names, bigger coverage, and that's really cool to see. But it's at the same time, it's still cool that Elisa Longo Borghini is out there still winning. And I think I mentioned in the previous podcast episode that she had this comment at the end of Milan San Remo. She rode a really hard race, and her comment was, "I will get them next time." Yeah, super happy for her.
Yeah, that's pretty epic to do it from 30K or 10 miles out. Like to hold off a field is so tough.
One thing before we go, Paris-Roubaix this weekend?
Same weekend as Sea Otter?
How dare they? I feel like it's the weekend after Flanders.
Sunday.
This Sunday.
Wet.
Wet. Ooh.
Rain is on the calendar.
Paris-Roubaix 2025 this weekend. Same as Sea Otter, same as Coachella. Everything's happening this weekend. Do you have a prediction? Or not do you have? What is your prediction for Paris-Roubaix, men's, women's? Name a couple people who you think is probably going to win, and then like a side option.
Ooh, men's, I'm never going to bet against Pogacar. It would be insane for him to take the double in the World's Champs jersey in a wet.
But yeah, if it's wet, I think that's the exciting thing about this race. Tadej could be,
game.
numbers wise, he could be the strongest on the day, but the world has other choices, and maybe, there's so many critical points on that course that you just don't have access to spare wheels, spare bikes. The team spread the mechanical support throughout the course, but I think it could come down to those tactics as well.
Yeah, I mean, not much of a dark horse, but I guess my dark horse then would be cyclocross world champ Matthew van der Poel.
Yeah, that's not much of a
dark horse. My theoretical money is on Tadej. Women's race, who do you have taking it?
This is tricky. I mean, Lotte Kopecky, she just won Flanders. Amazingly strong race.
Yeah.
If you get the reference.
That would be crazy if it's going to be a double-double
Exactly,
with
in
the
the
world
world.
champs.
Hell yeah.
Double-double.
I think she has a really good opportunity there. Demi Vollering, I have a soft spot for her. She has been doing really well this season, but is the cobbles her place? I don't know. My dark horse, but not really dark horse, is Cassiane Miradoma. I think it would be amazing to see her win that race. I love her as a rider. She always comes out fighting. She has had quite a bit of bad luck the past in general, but so far this season, she crashed out one of the earlier races. Strade Bianchi, I think. She crashed out super hard on that. I would love to see her lift that cobble and get the win there. I'm just looking forward to a super exciting race. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm saying dark horse. Again, not much of a dark horse. Marianne Vos.
I would also love that too.
Yeah.
She's already won that loads though.
What's to stop her from winning another then?
Fair play. We'll see. This episode is going live before the race, so you should all drop your comments to see who you think is going to be the women's and the men's winner. I want to know who your money's on. Yeah, we'll see how it unfolds on Sunday.
Amazing.
Are you going to get up and watch it?
That depends. How early do we have to be up for Sea Otter?
We'll work that out. Depends how many beers I drink the night before.
Saturday map party. I'm going to be there. You got to be there.
Yeah, I guess I'll see you there.
Yeah.
All jokes aside, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the episode 4 coming next week. We're going to have Adele Renault. She is a renowned artist, muralist. She has an upcoming show here in Los Angeles that we want to give some attention to and, bring a cyclist friend of ours onto the podcast and talk about the stuff that she does off of bikes. It's a really cool conversation that I'm sure we're going to have.
Thank you so much for listening or watching episode 3 of the Other Side Cycling podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit different this week. As I said in the introduction, it was really important that we kind of stayed consistent with the podcast and got an episode out. Sweet. Thank you.
Bye.